Welcome back to Carefully Speaking with your host, Dr. Jamillah here. And thank you. Thank you for being here with me today. Maybe you're out taking a walk. Maybe you're driving somewhere in your car. Maybe you're at the gym or running errands. Maybe you're listening while you're working. Maybe you're just sitting down with a warm cup of tea. Or maybe you're just trying to carve out some personal space to breathe. I hope that whatever you're doing, that this listening experience can contribute to that space that you're in right now. So this episode is the third part of my April Awareness series, which has been a special multi-part series that I created specifically to honor some of the national observances that show up during the month of April. But I also wanted to make sure that I offered space for deeper reflections, right? Through our lens, in our language, and with our lived experiences at the center. So in part one, we began with stress awareness, and we talked about how stress isn't just mental. It's physical, it's emotional, and it's cultural. We explored how stress shows up in Black and brown bodies, often as health crises, not just as emotional ones. And we named the weight of being everything to everyone, which rarely gives us any spaces to let go. Then in part two, we focused on Black Maternal Health Week. And that episode was simply titled, Listen to Black Women, period. In that conversation, it honored Black birthing people. It honored the stories that don't always get told, the experiences that continue to be dismissed, and the sacredness of being heard in a system that so often silences us. And so now, in the third part of this April Awareness series, we're going to be transitioning into a broader reflection on minority health, with this episode specifically titled, Bringing the Margin to the Center, what National Minority Health Month misses. So, let's talk about it. So let's start with intention, right? What this month is supposed to mean. Well, National Minority Health Month was created to raise awareness around health disparities that often affect communities of color. It's meant to spotlight issues in access, issues in health outcomes, and issues in overall care. It's supposed to be a month of visibility, right? A month of education and a month of commitment to closing some of those gaps. And on the surface, it sounds like a good thing, and it is, right? But here's the thing. Awareness without accountability becomes performative. And visibility without voice feels like yet another version of erasure. So we don't necessarily need more declarations of the disparities because we've known the numbers. We've lived the numbers, and we are the numbers. So, what are we still facing? We're still facing unchecked stress in our bodies. The stress that comes from racial microaggressions, generational pressure, caregiver fatigue, financial strain, and the silent expectation to stay strong no matter what. We're still facing maternal mortality rates that are higher among Black women in the United States, even when we are educated, even when we advocate for ourselves, and even when we follow every instruction in the book. Our concerns are still dismissed. Our symptoms are still ignored. And our bodies are still treated like they can endure anything, and they are expected to. We're still facing healthcare systems that are built on speed, profit, and compliance, but are not often built on presence, partnership, or care. we're still being expected to bounce back, to hold it together, to keep going while dealing with our own interpersonal, collective, and historical grief, trauma, anxiety, illness, and burnout that no one is addressing at the root. And we're still being told that our pain isn't real. Still being expected to overperform while being under cared for. So, yes, this month it was created to raise awareness. But the truth is, we've been aware. What we haven't seen enough of is action. What we haven't seen is the dial on the needle turning enough towards structural change. And so this month, it's still missing something very essential. It's missing the fact that health is not only medical, it's not only prescriptive, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's relational, it's cultural, and it is deeply, deeply social. And here's why. When many of us think about our health, we only think about our physical conditions. But health is actually affected by the spaces we live in, the systems we interact with, and the stories we're told about what we deserve. Health is affected by our environments, meaning the quality of air we breathe, the toxins in our buildings, our proximity to clean water and green spaces. Health is affected by our neighborhoods, right? Whether they're over-policed or under-resourced. Health is affected by our infrastructures, right? Are there safe sidewalks to walk on? Are there buses and trains that are running? Are there clinics and hospitals that are even reachable? Health is affected by our access to recreation and nutrition. So, do we have safe places to move our bodies? Do we have fresh food options nearby? Our health is affected by all of these things and much more. It's all connected to our health outcomes. And when those pieces are neglected, that's when we start to see health disparities growing. And this month, it often misses those realities for too many of us. Navigating our care isn't just about scheduling an appointment and showing up for it. It's much deeply layered, and here is why. Navigating care, it looks like having to code switch, right? The minute that we walk into an examination room or into a provider's office. Having to change our tone or soften our words or even over-explain our symptoms just to be taken seriously. Navigating care looks like bracing ourselves for immediate dismissal, wondering if our concerns will be minimized or if we'll be labeled as difficult, angry, aggressive, hostile, non-compliant, or a bully for asking too many questions. Navigating care looks like having to self-advocate when we're already exhausted, bringing documents, tracking our symptoms, and researching our own treatment plans. And navigating care, that also looks like carrying mistrust. Not because we're just cynical or because we're being resistant, but because too many of us have already experienced harm in these spaces where we're supposed to be healing. So think about that. How can we move forward from all of this? So we can start by supporting our local organizations that are already doing the good work. Our doulas, our community clinics, our healing justice spaces, our culturally responsive mental health providers. We can advocate for policies that fund long-term access to care. We can ask better questions in our workplaces, in our schools, in our social circles. And maybe, even most importantly, we can educate ourselves and our peers on the difference between cultural competency and cultural humility. Now, cultural competency is about having the foundational knowledge, right? It's about the ability to understand and interact effectively with people from different cultures, right? But on the other hand, cultural humility, that's a little bit deeper, right? That's about actually holding space for what you don't know. It's about listening. It's about not assuming. It's about learning and not leading. It means that we recognize that the people that we serve, the people that we interact with, are the experts of their own experiences. And every interaction should be grounded in respect and openness and curiosity. So when providers are leading with cultural humility, that's when trust starts to increase. When systems are built with cultural competence and cultural humility, outcomes improve. And when we combine both, we create care that doesn't just reach our communities, it honors them. So this episode has been rightfully called What It Means to Bring the Margin to the Center. And when I say what we need to bring the margin to the center, I'm not just talking about adding more seats to a table. I'm talking about rebuilding the table. So that means hiring and compensating diverse providers and professionals. It means making health education materials accessible, not just in different languages, but actually in cultural meaning and delivery. And it means partnering with our community members, not just asking them to share their stories, but actually inviting them to shape the path forward. And you do not have to be a social worker or a policymaker to do this work. You can just check in on a caregiver that you know. You can share a resource about health equity or stress management. You can support a culturally grounded wellness space or local business. And you can have honest conversations about healing and about access. You can bring the margin to the center. What that's about is about alignment. It's about aligning our values with our actions. It's about aligning our compassion with accountability. And it's about aligning our awareness with sustained effort. It isn't about doing everything, but it is about doing something. And that something starts now. As we close out this April Awareness series, where we moved from stress management to maternal health and now to health equity, I want to personally thank you. Thank you for staying with me in these deep conversations. Thank you for choosing your own self-reflection over reaction. And thank you for believing that we are not only worthy of care, but that we're the ones who define what that care should look like. These episodes weren't just about statistics. They were about highlighting stories. They weren't about shame. They were about liberation. And they weren't just about observances, they were about truth. So if this series moved you, challenged you, or even reminded you of your own voice, I invite you to share it. I invite you to reflect on it. And I invite you to keep the conversation going. We aren't just asking to be seen, we're asking to be centered. Because minority health matters. Our healing matters. We matter. So until next time, this is Carefully Speaking with Dr. Jamillah. Take care of yourselves and keep speaking with intention.